Welcome to Daily Reflections. My name's Corey. I'm here with Madison and Brandon. And we're going to start with Just for Today, January 30th, giving it away. We must give freely and gratefully that which has been freely and gratefully given to us. And it's from Basic Text, page 47. In recovery, we receive many gifts. Perhaps one of the greatest of these gifts is the spiritual awakening that begins when we stop using. Growing stronger each day, we apply the steps in our lives. The new spark of life within is a direct result of our new relationship with a higher power, a relationship initiated and developed by living the 12 steps. Slowly, as we pursue our program, the radiance of recovery dispels the darkness of our disease. One of the ways we express our gratitude for the gifts of recovery is to help others find what we have found. We can do this in any number of ways, by sharing in meetings, making 12-step calls, accepting a commitment to sponsorship, or volunteering for H&I or phone line duty. The spiritual life given us in recovery asks for expression, for we can only keep what we have by giving it away. So just for today, the gift of recovery grows when I share it. I will find someone with whom to share it. And I like this because it talks about gratitude, expressing gratitude. For a long time, I was kind of under the impression that as long as I told people that I was grateful for the things I had, or I said it, that was expressing it. And the fact is, there has to be action behind that. I'm grateful for the life I've been given, so I have to give back to that life. And that means doing a lot of things that I don't necessarily want to do all the time. You know, a lot of the times I'm tired, like Netflix is right there in my living room. I don't want to go to that meeting. I don't want to hold up that H&I commitment. And despite how I feel about it, I go ahead and I do it anyway. And 9 times out of 10, I feel better afterward. And even if I don't, I know that there's a chance I helped someone. Whether it was a small, I helped them very little, or I helped someone a lot. Some seed was planted, it started a ripple in someone's life that will help them down the road, because people did that for me. You know,
Right.
this isn't the first time I've tried to get sober, but 10 years ago somebody said something that struck a chord with me, and that's what encouraged me to keep trying and keep coming back and keep learning. And so I owe it to that person to keep putting as much effort into this as I can, even if I don't see a payoff in other people's lives. It's not about the reward I get out of it, it's about what I give back for what I've already got.
You know, not seeing the payoff in someone's life is kind of like this, it's this treacherous thing that's how I describe it, you know, because you're doing all this work, you're putting the work in because someone's told you to do it, because you have to stay sober that way. I've found myself here, I guess within the last few months, getting annoyed with that. You know, someone told me when I first got sober, they said, you have to be of service, you are absolutely responsible. And you're responsible for other people's lives. You know, this is a we program, we have to do this together. And so I just did it because I didn't know how to live life, and obviously they did, so I listened to what they said, and so I just kept doing it. And I don't always want to go to that meeting. I don't always want to hold up that H&I commitment. When sponsees call me or knock on my door, I don't always want to answer that phone or open that door, you know, and there's just this, I don't know, it's like this urge comes over me. I'm just ignore the phone call, but then I know that I can't do that. But recently I was sitting in a meeting and I was my sponsee's ticket got called. He gets up, he's been vigorously working his steps, and I hadn't seen any fruit from it, but he gets up, he goes up to the podium, and he just describes the spiritual awakening that he had. And what's crazy is he didn't even know it, and it only confirms what the book tells us, that other people will see it in us before we see it in ourselves. And the 12th step is, after having had a spiritual awakening as the result of the steps, we carried the message. And it doesn't say what step that spiritual awakening happens on. You know, it just says the ones before. It happened well before that. So it's beautiful to be able to see that. You know, it makes the times where I didn't want to work with a sponsee or I didn't want to go to a meeting, it makes it worthwhile. That's my experience.
Yeah, to see that light click is the coolest thing. You can see a light in somebody's eyes, right? They're not sad anymore. And it's really, it's indescribable. I don't like to look at people and be like, oh, I don't think they're gonna get sober. Because you never know. It's the people that you don't think are gonna get it that get it. Watching them transform into this brand new human is so cool, so cool. That yeah, actions speak much louder than words. Much louder than words. To show that you're grateful, you gotta do something, right? Showing does not mean I'm gonna talk about it. The gifts of recovery are definitely great, but you have to give it away to keep it, you know?
One of those gifts being freedom.
I like
For
freedom.
instance, from Daily Reflections, freedom from and freedom to. We are going to know a new freedom from Alcoholics Anonymous, page 83. Freedom for me is both freedom from and freedom to. The first freedom I enjoy is freedom from the slavery of alcohol. Then I begin to experience freedom from fear. Fear of people, of economic insecurity, of commitment, of failure, of rejection. Then I begin to enjoy freedom too. Freedom to choose sobriety for today, freedom to be myself, freedom to express my opinion, to experience peace of mind, to love and be loved, and freedom to grow spiritually. But how can I achieve these freedoms? The Big Book clearly says that before I am halfway through making amends, I will begin to know a new freedom. Not the old freedom of doing what I pleased without regard to others, but the new freedom that allows fulfillment of the promises in my life.
Yeah, you know, I remember when I first got sober, someone described all these promises to me that were laid out in the book, and I had the buy-in. I saw the worth that they had in their life, and I wanted that. You know, I had the buy-in. I was like, all right, well then I'll get sober. I didn't know that it required all of the work that it does require, you know. So after about 90 days of me being sober, I wasn't experiencing any of these, and I thought to myself, that person lied to me. And then he comes back and he tells me, he's like, no, this requires work from you, you know, like these are things that you have to do. So I began to do them, and then I began to see the fruit from that. The freedom from financial insecurity is great. You know, all the things described here are wonderful, but the best thing that I found in my life is that today I don't have to drink. Like, I don't have to wake up with a bottle next to my bed, you know, and I just get to be okay and comfortable in my own skin. That's, if all of those other things weren't there, I would be okay with just that. That's
Absolutely. Absolutely. For a long time, I didn't know what it felt like not to wake up and need to get drunk. It ran my everyday life. It ran what I thought about. It ran my employment. I mean, anything and everything, my life centered around alcohol. I never could have thought that somebody like me that was so obsessive about alcohol that I could just live free from that obsession.
And that's one of the things that I noticed too, that I remember somebody pointed out to me, and it's a question I've heard other people get asked is, you know, when was the last time you thought about getting high or getting drunk? And my sponsor actually put it to me. He's like, when's the last time you thought about not getting high? And it dawned on me, I had spent a really long time, like, technically sober, but my day started with, you know, waking up, and my first thought was, okay, I just have to make it back to my bed and not get high, and I'll be all right. That was as good as I could do, you know? And you guys both mentioned it. It talks about the old freedom of just doing what I please without regard to other people. That was kind of how I viewed my life when I was out there doing what I was doing. And I thought, you know, I'm free, I do what I want, no one, you know, I don't answer to anyone. And the truth is, all I was really free from was, like, responsibility and fulfillment in my life.
Yeah.
You know, and I came here, you know, my solution to all these problems had been taken away because I was doing drugs and drinking. That's how I dealt with life. So all these fears came crashing in on me, and I thought they would just get alleviated immediately. They didn't. And like you were saying, I had to do a whole bunch of work, and I got to this point making my amends and facing a lot of these fears, and they dissipated over time. You know, I'm not afraid of most people. Economic insecurity, I'm not worried about it. I'm still not very financially secure, but I'm working on it. And it's gotten to a point where a lot of the fears do crop up in my life. That's just a part of being human. But a lot of them, if I were to say them out loud, like answer the question, what's the worst that could happen, they sound really like insignificant. You know, well, what's the worst that could happen? Strangers might not like me. Exactly.
Right.
You know, but in my
Not a big
head,
deal.
that's a grinding fear. And the freedom to be able to just face those when they crop up.
Yeah.
that's a thing that came out of this, that, you know, all of this stuff that I don't have to worry anymore. I don't run around just driven by fear.
Yeah.
And that's a thing I didn't realize I wanted until I had it.
Yeah.
If I don't continue to do this work, it can easily slip away from me. My disease continues to progress, and if I don't continue to progress in my recovery, my disease will catch up to and overtake me eventually.
Yeah.
You know?
And I think it only, you know, not to necessarily interrupt you, I think it only speaks to the idea that we've been told since we all came into these rooms that drugs and alcohol were just a symptom of your problem.
Exactly.
You know, like, you're the problem, drugs and alcohol were your solution to the problem. So you take the drugs and alcohol away, what do you have? You still have all these problems. You know, like, my sponsor told me, he said, what happens when you get a drunk horse thief sober? What do you have? You have a horse thief. You know, you still have all these problems. So, you know, they're not gonna go away. You have to constantly work on them.
I think the best part, like I had said earlier, is the freedom to choose sobriety today. That is what sobriety has given me. It's given me a choice to figure out who I am without drugs and alcohol, right? It's been a process, but man, has it been worth it. You know, I get to choose whether I want to sit back and hide behind my fears and be a hermit, or I get to choose to face my fears and jump over the hurdles that are keeping me back. You know, sobriety has definitely given me freedom.
It's given me things I didn't even realize I was missing.
Right?
I think that's going to do it. Thank you for joining us. Madison, Brandon, thank you for
Thank
being
you.
here. And join us again next week when we will do more fun stuff.